Hello and welcome to the new Rosevear YouTube channel. And we have our tiny vlogger microphones. And we wanted to talk about Burns Night. And we've done a short form video on Instagram. And if you are joining us having seen that, then welcome. This is going to be a bit more of a chat about Burns Night and about the Scottish tradition and what we do, what we get up to, what we think of these teas, just a chat, because we wanted to sort of connect more with you guys, people that shop with us or who might be interested in hearing more about the teas that we have, considering we have 200 now.
Almost 200.
Yeah. So, there's a lot to know, a lot to learn, and we thought we would talk about it. So I thought I would start out by asking you what you like to get up to on Burns Night.
On Burns nights, I really like to go out to an events, traditional events where there's someone who gives an address to the haggis and maybe even some dancing. That can be quite nice.
Yeah, that's always fun. I've been to a Ceilidh once on Burns Night, but I'm a bit of a stayer in our kind of vibe. So me and my family, we've actually come to a bit of a conclusion that we prefer veggie haggis as a family, which is maybe sacrilegious, but I don't know, it's my
The veggie
favorite.
haggis is also very nice, actually.
Yeah, surprisingly so. And I think a lot of people are, they might be a bit freaked out by what haggis is made of, and you kind of have that. If you're not Scottish as well, you kind of have to have that first experience.
Whenever Isabel's family members come across, or people that she went to school or university with in France come across, and they're keen to try haggis, and then they ask what's in it. That's always
you don't want to know.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I've been vegetarian a long time, but I don't feel excluded because vegetarian haggis is actually brilliant and I would recommend. So we've got some lovely teas on the table that we can talk about. We did a little coverage of 3 of them in an Instagram video, but yeah, do you want to talk us through maybe
Absolutely
these ones?
So first one's Scottish breakfast. Our most popular breakfast tea. It's a strong one, blended by us. Single estate Assam, a lot of it in the blend, makes it strong, makes it full-bodied and malty. But a little bit of Chinese Keeman tea, which adds some real interest to it. So it's not just strong, there's also a great interest, a sort of slight flowery note, even something of smouldering embers in the taste as well. So that's first recommendation.
It
Scottish
takes milk.
breakfast.
Takes
it
milk
goes
pretty
very
well
with
too.
milk.
Yeah. And then, do you want to do this one first, and then we can get to the smokies?
Absolutely. So, jumping to time where you might want something sweet, for all of those of you who like Scottish fudge, Scottish tablet, this is our Scottish fudge tea. It's black tea with vegan fudge pieces, and is really quite delicious.
I actually didn't know they were vegan. That's a good thing to know, just in case anyone asks me about that. I actually do get asked that a lot. I think people come in because we've got quite a few teas with like chocolate chips and things in.
Yeah.
And that is a fairly common question. The pumpkin chai that's our seasonal tea, and that has chocolate chips in, and people were asking about that sort of thing. I think most of them are vegan, and a lot of them are cocoa kernels and things like that, which are
absolutely.
Yeah, that's a really nice one. I'm a big fan of anything made of sugar, to be honest, so it works for me. Yeah, that's a good one. And then we have the triad of the smokies. So we talked about tari in the other video, but do you want to run us through?
Well, we've got 3 smoky black teas in our range, and they're ranging from relatively smoky, shall we say, to what most people consider to be very smoky to extremely smoky. So the relatively smoky is a tea with a great backstory. It is Smoky Russian Caravan. from the Silk Road. You imagine back in the day when the tea was arriving into Europe on camel caravans. You imagine camels with these wooden boxes on strapped to their back, and some very hardy adventurers taking them through the Silk Road. Really quite a long trip, but a trip that could be taking place when it's really quite cold there on the steppes, and they would want to keep warm at night. So they'd have campfires, and the smoke from those campfires would gradually infiltrate into the teas, and it would become a relatively smoky tea. And that's black teas and oolongs coming from China. And it was a tea that was particularly appreciated by the Russian court in St. Petersburg. So it came to be called Russian Caravan, and we call ours Smoky Russian Caravan because it's a little bit smokier than average. Main smoky tea is Lapsang Souchong. You'll have all heard of that. It's quite a famous one. That said, many tea companies, or some tea companies, I'll say, are either stopping to sell it, or they are adjusting the product, because it's becoming harder to source, because it's coming from a part of China where there are some wonderful teas being made which have a very high price tag. So tea farmers are turning their production from Lapsang Souchong to those teas. However, don't worry, those of you who love Lapsang Souchong, we will continue to source Lapsang, and it will continue to be at a very reasonable price here at Rosevear Tea.
It's a very popular one as well, the Lapsang. I think we do refills as well, in case anyone doesn't know that. I get a lot of people bringing their bags and big tins in to have their Lapsang addiction supported.
Yes.
There's a few. I always think it's quite a sweet thing. There's a few couples that come in, and one of them is the Lapsang drinker, and one of them is an Earl Grey drinker. You know, they kind of. And then we have actually a smoky Earl Grey now. So we've netted them out in the middle. So that works. And there's been a few people that have told me that they've kind of come together. It's a close friend or their partner who, one of them's a smoky drinker, one of them's Earl Grey, and now they can share.
That's great.
Which is really sweet. But no, Lapsang's very popular, so we'd always have that, wouldn't we?
It's very popular. In fact, it's completely by chance that Lapsang Souchong exists. It was
really?
Circumstances led to its creation. It was in China a couple of 100 years ago. A tea processor, so someone who's there drying the leaves, has tea leaves, dries the leaves, rolls, puts the leaves through a withering process in order to make black tea. And it was doing that in a large building in Fujian. And when the Chinese army arrive and need that space for billeting the troops, and actually just say, well, we're taking over the building as from tomorrow. So,
oh my god!
So, tea processor, it's got a massive tea drying, but it's not going to dry in time. So he thinks, well, can I accelerate that process to not lose all of this partly processed tea? So he comes up with the idea of actually having a fire,
smoking it,
and somehow accelerating the drying process. So there were pine forests nearby, had pine wood, burnt that pine wood, and accelerated the drying process. Now, tea did dry, so it was processed to the end. However, had a very smoky flavour. And that smoky flavour is not to the taste of the Chinese. Whereas Lapsang Souchong is not drunk by Chinese people in the main. But to his good fortune, the tea processor, an English tea merchant happened to be passing, and he managed to sell the entire consignment of this smoky tea that you really wouldn't have been able to do anything with in China. Did that, didn't charge a high price, and thought, well, that's dealt with. I haven't lost my money.
Yeah,
But
thank goodness I got
thank
rid of it.
goodness. But the thing that was a real surprise was that when a year later, you imagine it took time in those days to travel to and from China. So the English tea merchant would have been on the boats going back to the UK and then coming back again. And he arrived and said, that was a really popular tea. Can I have some more? So
Wow. He's accidentally made something really
the
cool.
process had to be set up in order to make more Lapsang Souchong, and of course it's a really loved tea.
I'm glad he remembered how he did it. That would have been unfortunate if he was like, I've no idea how that happened. It just tastes like that. I'm sorry, it's gone forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
So is that why it's hard to get it? Because it's not really drunk in China. They don't really think about it so much.
They don't think about it so much. One thing though is the Souchong leaf. The Souchong leaf is a lower leaf, and it's also an older leaf. So it is less. It is not used for the very best Chinese teas. So it used to suit them quite well that they had this great use for this Souchong leaf. Incidentally, that Souchong leaf also has lower caffeine than other leaves on the tea bush. So Lapsang Souchong has relatively less caffeine than other black teas.
Oh, that's really interesting. Did we get to Tari, or is that
we haven't? So you all know Lapsang is a super smoky tea, famously so. But there is an even smokier tea. It's called Tari Souchong, and this involves the tea being smoked more. First of all, it's very high quality leaves. Then the tea is smoked for longer, smoked more, and there are extra complexities to the taste, and obviously it's smokier as well. So if you are a smoky tea geek, you definitely need to try Tari Souchong as well.
Yeah, it's a pretty, I don't know, it's very unique. I think it's a bit strong for me. I mean, I don't really drink whiskey or anything like that, and that's kind of who it's popular with. If you're into that sort of peaty, smoky flavor, it's, I know people who swear by it. I like the smoky Russian. I enjoyed the smoky Earl Grey when it came in as well. But I think, the Lapsang Tari, like, I'm a bit too sensitive to the smokiness. But I think some people, it's their absolute favorite thing. So it's something that you should really try. Yeah.
For the smoky Earl Grey, something that I find very interesting is how the smoke actually brings out the bergamot.
Yeah, I thought
it actually makes it more Earl Grey as well as being smoky.
Yeah, I think that was a nice sort of combination, like the upper notes and taste of the smoke, kind of like they go well together.
Yeah, this is true.
Okay, so this was kind of the first go at having a nice discussion on our YouTube channel. So we're really excited about this and hoping to have.
Tell us what you think. I mean, is it any good?
Yeah, let us know. Give us a comment. Reach out on Instagram if you have any ideas for, or in the comments, if you have any ideas for things you'd like to hear about, questions that you have, because now that we're on here, we can sort of do more discussion-based videos, so that should be fun.
Maybe at one point we'll do one on all of the Darjeeling teas we have.
Oh, definitely. I think we should do Darjeeling, Assam, Ceylon, like kind of, we'll talk you through all of the teas that we have, especially because then, when people come into the shop and they have a lot of questions and maybe they don't have enough time to ask all the questions that they have, we can say, here's all these videos that provide you with the information, so that should be really helpful. And if you have anything specifically that you'd want to hear about, then let us know. But thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you, Adam, for giving us all of your expertise.